Again, another good thing. Those are the important. Township, they have no zoning, no master plan, nothing. You don't see it. It's a mess. Around the corner from me. Take one out and put one in. So he said, so he sent me this way. So I ended up going in. It just came to
Thanks, so to say welcome. Yeah, we just had it wow. You did it in a way that's very suitable for
I'm telling you, I can't. Let's just the same one. And totally goes in and whatever surgery later.
All right, if everybody would grab a seat, we'll get started. Has anybody heard from Bill? We need somebody to take the chair. All right, we'll call this meeting to order. If everybody would rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic quadruple duties here, so bear with me. I'm not only gonna chair this meeting, but, our secretary has not arrived yet, so I will start with those duties. Just give me patience, I'm helping you here, so I'll start with the roll call. Elmont, Arcadia, Attica, Burlington, Burnside, Deerfield,
1,
Dryden,
3,
Elba, 1, Goodland, 1, Hadley,
3,
Imlay, Lapeer, 1, Marathon, Mayfield, Metamora, 3, North Branch, Oregon, Rich, MTA Director, Coordinator, County officials,
1. Sheriff, right, we're got lots. There's lots on there.
Lots.
Yeah, is that a number?
Julie, you didn't show up, you get lots. County Road Commission, State Rep, State Senator, guest. All right, start with our agenda here. We also don't have our supervisor for Hadley, so at this time, Lisa,
Sure.
you introduce your board.
Okay, so tonight we have Joyce Ivory, our new clerk, brand new clerk, as of last meeting, and Rick Brandt, our not so new trustee. I was gonna say old, but I didn't want to say that. Okay, all right. So I guess I get a couple minutes to talk. So today I was thinking about some unique things about Hadley Township and asking everybody around me unique things about Hadley Township. So the first thing that popped into my mind is almost a quarter of our land in Hadley Township is park property, state owned or township owned. It's close to 6,000 acres we have. So that includes the Ortonville State Recreation Area. If you've never been out to the Hadley Hills, it's beautiful, especially in the fall. And lovely lake out there, and even an equestrian campground. So if you haven't been to the equestrian campground when they're having their like fall thing, it is fascinating. Horses have Halloween costumes. It's the craziest thing. And people are really into it. And then we have the Metamora Hadley State Park with the campground and the lake and the trails, and then our own township parks, Marston Park, where we just put in new pickleball courts, and we have a very strong growing youth baseball program. We have 8 T-ball teams this year, which is super exciting. And then Hartford Park, where we're currently developing a new nature playground. Another kind of unique thing that we have is our Hadley Mill Museum. Was originally operated as a barista mill, and then eventually the property was donated to the township and has been converted to a historical museum. If you've never been there, it's pretty unique. It's worth a visit. And just about a month ago, for the first time ever, all the 3rd graders out of Murphy came to the mill yeah. Is that right? 3rd graders? 4th graders? 4th graders, okay. And then, how many of you have been here on the 4th of July? Pretty good numbers, because it seems like everybody in the whole county is here on the 4th of July. So we have a huge 4th of July parade, probably one of the few parades left where people actually will get sprayed with water from our fire trucks.
Sprayed is an understatement.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. And we have other fun stuff on the 4th of July too, the 5K run. But I think probably the biggest thing about Hadley is that I feel like we're a real true community here. Like, people know their neighbors. We have our monthly Lions Club supper. It is good spaghetti, not gonna lie. In fact, there's some sauce in the fridge if you want to take a little bit home and try to figure out their secret recipe. Because that's happening on Thursday. But we have all sorts of other community events and just different comments that people were giving me on uniqueness. Jason, before he left tonight, texted me, he said, I think our church bells are unique. And I said, I don't know if our church bells are unique, but I think what is unique is that the church bells broke, and the community came together and donated the money to bring them back to life. So it wasn't just the church that had to be responsible for that. But last year, for the first time, it wasn't our first time having pork and plaid, which we had down at the mill, but we did a giant pumpkin drop. Tina was there for that. And so we took a 500-pound pumpkin, dropped it from a height of about 50 feet, and it just, of course, smashed to smithereens. Everybody loved it. But the part that I loved, that I was super surprised about, is the challenge went out to collect the seeds from the giant pumpkin and grow your own pumpkin for this year's pumpkin drop. So there's people, hopefully, all over Hadley who are attempting to grow a giant pumpkin, including myself. Mine are looking very good, I have to say. I have high hopes to get to 500 pounds because the parents of this pumpkin that fell from the sky were actually 2,000-pound pumpkins. So it seems like I should be able to get to 500, but I might need to lower my expectations. But anyway, it's been a great little community, and I'm glad you guys can all be here. The rest of our board members, we have a planning commission meeting tonight. So that's where Jason had to run off to the planning commission meeting, and Robert is there.
There's a lot of people there.
Well, there's some hot topics.
It sounded like that.
Yeah. All right, thank you.
Very good, thank you, thank you. Brings us down to public time. Anybody have anything to bring before the board?
I was just gonna say, Sutherland's nature preserve.
Oh, I forgot about Sutherland's, yes.
It's little known.
Yes, it is little known.
Deal?
On Deal Road, yep.
That's not the place.
My brother-in-law was married there.
Oh, really?
And I guess just another quick, you talked about the Hadley Parade, been coming to that since 1969, and Mr. Hartwig was a small boy with his dad driving a California or bus truck,
Right.
and we've now, I don't want to call him old, but he's now in the cab person, and it's just fun to watch him, you know, from this side, the big overalls, to now he's the gray hair, you know, very cool. Move down to approval of the agenda. Everyone's pleasure.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
Do we have support? Motion been made and supported. All in favor, signify by aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Approval of the minutes. You have the minutes in your packet from the meeting April 28th in Goodland Township. Is there any additions, corrections, deletions, or otherwise? If not,
I just like to know that I was present and we were just a brief update.
you were. It was a very good update. Yes. So you were.
Thank you.
What's the board pleasure? Excuse me, what's the members? First night of this, I gotta get into the role of I'm not on the board here. It's,
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes with the one correction which recently added.
you have support? I'll support. All in favor of the motion, signify by aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Treasurer's report.
We have $2,072.68 in the kitty, and that's where we're at.
Anybody have any questions for the treasurer? I have a motion to approve the treasurer's report.
Support.
Motion been made and supported. Discussion? All in favor, signify by aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Brings us down to old business, dues and bylaws. We haven't had anything with the bylaws. We haven't got them yet. And actually kind of timely, we've had discussions even before the meeting on the dues. I think maybe it would behoove us to have a committee work on reviewing the bylaws, which is inclusive of the dues and how it's written in there, and report back with a recommendation to this body on potential changes with the bylaws and in addition to the dues. Everybody who's attended these meetings before has heard me speak of what our bylaws say, and it's based on your population, your per capita, and a decision was made a few years ago to, oh, we have enough money in the bank, and so we suspended it, and that went on for X number of years. But what we used to do with this group and what we do now, it's not even in the same ballpark. Whether it was monies to pay for speakers, and there are very good speakers out there around the state. They have speaking fees to come to. We used to send people to Washington to the National Townships Association Conference. We used to pay for transportation to go to Capital Currents in Lansing. We used to offset the cost for banquets, annual banquets, and our awards, Supervisor of the Year, Clerk of the Year, etc. And quite frankly, all that's been by the wayside. And this is what we're at. So along with that, our participation in attendance is diminished drastically, and it's not just this body. I don't care whether it's the Kiwanis, the Optimists, Fire Department, or church. They are all experiencing that, so it's not just because of that, but if that's what the group decides to do, that's fine. But I know when we made the decision before, okay, we're gonna have to charge some dues, well, how much, and it turned into this $100 type thing. Well, that basically covers the expenses of the secretary, treasurer, and not much more. So that's what the group wants to continue with. That's majority rules, but if we want to grow this organization, and I'm a pretty competitive guy. I remember at the beginning of my tenure, went to Lansing, and we were the largest contingent in the state of Michigan. We beat Oakland County with our participation. And I don't know how many went this year, but it was one hand and I had fingers left over. Oakland County's got hospitality suites at the conference. We're down to, we all carpool in one car and have seats available. And that's, the power is in the numbers of. We have 18 townships, and we are surrounded by Oakland County, Genesee County, St. Clair County. We're being eaten alive, and whether that is in whatever's coming to us, or whether that is our representation for state representatives and senators and everything else, we're not showing our power. And I think it's a missed opportunity. So, enough of me pontificating. Do I have any volunteers to serve on that group? Take your names down. Anybody else? Well, the more the merrier, but I would like to have at least 4 or 5. And I'll tell you that. I will gladly serve on it as well. But feel free to nominate somebody from your township that's not in attendance. I function off of Army rules. Everybody steps back, and the one who is still there is. I don't have a problem with that. Anybody else? I'll make this very painless and big decision. All right, then I'm going to recruit outside of this meeting and grab the bull by the horns and get something done. New business. We don't have any new business. Brings us down to program. I started with a conversation, actually, what it's like to be a deputy and be voluntold, just exactly what I was just talking about. And I wanted to, a few years ago we had a K-9 officer from the state police came in, and everybody really enjoyed that, and we really enjoyed hiding drugs on some of the township officials and letting the dog hit on them. It was great entertainment, for me anyway. So that was kind of my thought, is to bring in the Lapeer County, through their millage dollars, has greatly expanded the program from what we're used to with drone capabilities and K-9 and accident reconstruction, all those sort of things. So started that whole conversation, ultimately wound up with the sheriff. So Sheriff McKenna, if you'd like to speak with the crowd.
Thank you. I already took a meeting. Scott called me last month asking if I'd come in. They called me like 2 days before, and I had a meeting in Lansing. So then Mike calls me and I'm like, yeah, no problem. So Scott can give me all kinds of crap tonight, like, oh, all of a sudden Mike calls you and you're right there. So the first part of my meeting didn't go over well. Thank you for having me, I appreciate it. And I think it's a good idea, and when we talked about this meeting, kind of want to touch on some of the millage stuff and some of our specialty things. We've changed, you've changed, the people have changed how we do law enforcement in here with the millage. I think it would be good to, as we go, and I know you guys have a million different pieces of business, but to bring in some of these specialty groups, to have them explain to you and see the things they do. We got some amazing people, some of the groups, and I'll touch on it a little bit, have made major change within this county, and I'm super proud of them, and we're blessed to have such good people. So, obviously the village now, we're 3.5 years in. So we got 2.5 years left. That was a 6-year millage. Let's be true, and I know a lot of you, some better than others. Let's be truthful. When that went through, when the millage came in, I knew where we were at as a county. And I saw the things obviously coming from running an department prior to there, even though I've lived here my entire life. I knew and saw technology and some of the things that we had, some of the safety equipment, there were a million things that I could list, is, okay, what is it that we want as a quality of service in this county, as the public? So when we brought the millage up, it's a hot topic. You guys know better than anybody. And we approached it from the side of, I've been through, and obviously coming from Genesee County, retiring over there, what do they usually do, especially in law enforcement millage? They threaten people. Well, if this doesn't pass, we're going to lay A, B, C, and D off. We're going to, so they scare the hell out of everybody is what they do, and ultimately that's why these millages pass, or whatever. We didn't do that. We went in, and obviously I was at a lot of your townships and spoke for that few months. I didn't see my wife for probably 3 months because we were speaking somewhere every night. It was more of that of, I wasn't banging my hand on the table saying, we need this, you have to do this, we're going to lose people, scaring people. Not in any way, chance, or form were we going to do that. It was, what kind of quality of service do you want? And what do we want to do as Lapeer County and growing? I know even like Mike said, look what we're around. We're around obviously Oakland, you got Livingston, you got Genesee, you got St. Clair. Those are bigger departments that have a lot more access to things and technology that we don't have. Why can't we have some of those things? And it's near and dear. I was born and raised here. For those who don't know, my dad was a state trooper here. I coached over 1,000 kids in this town. I ran a football program. My wife's from here. I adore this community. And for me to retire as the chief of police over there, even living here my entire life, this is probably the most humble thing I've ever done in my life, is to be in this position in the community that I grew up in the community that I've coached and seen so many people and have so many close friends. So I'm very blessed with that. So when we put the millage out there, hey, here's the thing that what we're trying to do. I sat there with Teresa that night in the courthouse on election night, having no idea. To be honest with you, expecting it to fail. And because I was just worried, and I understand it, especially now, look at the times we're in, look how tight our checkbooks are, look how tight everything costs so much more. On that night, every single precinct in this entire county voted yes for that. I didn't see that one coming. But I also then took a huge responsibility because of that. And I told our men and women that the people stepped up for us in a huge fashion. So what does that mean? Now you follow through with the promises that I made. We have to increase that quality service. Do we screw up? Yeah, you're damn right we do. And do I have broad shoulders and I'll try to stand up during those times and take it and try to improve? Yes. But we make mistakes too. And we're trying to do everything that we can with this. It's been life-changing for law enforcement at the county. As you know, the county handles the majority of the calls throughout the county. Kind of different than me coming from Genesee. Everybody has their police department over there. So obviously with here, we have to, the relationships that we have with driving is we have to have those relationships because we have such a huge area to cover. So we need to work well, our men and women. And I think we've seen that. Driving's had a couple crazy things that have happened. And then obviously the Elmont stuff, that you look at how we work together with it, that's pretty exciting because why I say that is, if you go to other counties, and I know obviously like with Phil doing it for so long, you don't see that. You don't see agencies working together like you do in Lapeer County. So that's been huge. So the millage also helped all the departments that we have in here. One of the big things that's come out of that, and my key was when we talked about it, that I made sure that I followed through on the promises that I made during the millage. One of the things we talked about was retention, hiring and retention. We were a revolving door prior to the millage. And what do I mean by that? I mean that our pay was so bad, and I understand I'm preaching to the choir in a lot of things in our areas in Lapeer County. But we would bring deputies in, and we'd train them, and then they'd leave and go to Oakland County. And it was just, that's all we did. We were just training people one after another, and they were going. But how do I tell a young man or a young woman that's starting a family that's for them to turn down a $7 an hour raise, that's starting a family, buying a house, having, just getting married? So I understood it, but we were losing, and we were losing bad. What did some departments do with that, especially through COVID, because everybody was down so many numbers? What did a lot of departments do? They dropped their standards. There's not a chance in hell we're doing that. Not in our community that we all live in, and our families live in. So we were in kind of a bind. So when we did that, obviously the wage study came with the county and talked about it to where we were able to raise those wages up. We are truly getting the best of the best now. Are we the highest paid around? Not even close. But we are very, very competitive. Why are we competitive? Not only because the wages are up there where people do want to come here, but because people want to work and live in Lapeer County. You talk to people in Oakland, Genesee, no offense to any of those counties, but we are very unique in what we do. The other part of that is kind of what I was saying here a little bit ago was, it's because the community supports law enforcement. You don't have that everywhere. When I was in Genesee County, people waved at you all the time. They just didn't usually use all their fingers. So it was something to have it here to come. When I travel, and I mean zero disrespect to my last department in Lapeer County, when I retired in 2014, I said if I never went westbound on 69 again, I'd be happy because I wanted to stay here. I can't walk into a restaurant, I was going to say donut shop before one of you guys, gas station, whatever it may be, and walk in without somebody coming up and shaking my hand, or someone coming up and saying thank you for your service. And I love that. I adore that. That's why I'll finish my career here. I will never take any other opportunities than anything that I've done that has come on. But people want to be here. They want to raise families here. They want to buy a house here. They want to send their kids to school. And we actually look for that. We're looking for local men and women that we can hire to have in our community. What better person to have hired that comes in, whether it's in the jail or on the road, that's vested in this community, that their families are here. So we really, really push that, and we've done a ton of it, ton of hiring. Currently right now, in the history of the Sheriff's Office, we have more deputies than we've ever had. One of the promises I said we were going to have more general cars. People up there, we have a lot of areas, I know some of them in here, of going out to Burlington, going out to Rich, things like that. General cars are important because we need to have that coverage when people call. So we have more general cars than we ever had. We got more deputies than we've ever had. It's exciting to see what we have. We have testing, we have a major change going on in the department right now. We've changed, obviously, we joked about it. You have seen a ton of people, young men and women that are here are young people. Half of them, they'll get to my desk. It's when they come in as they're getting hired, and I ask them, are you sure you're old enough to have a driver's license? Because they look like they're 12. So we have all these people in there. They're fantastic. And we are truly getting the best of the best. We run constant interviews. And when we have 10, 20 people that interview, if we don't get what that we believe to be elite, we move on to another test. That's why our men and women that we have right now are so fantastic. And I'm excited for the future. Way after I'm done, I'm excited for the future of what this department looks like and how the community will be served because they understand that. We have a lot of people retiring right now. I've completely changed the entire detective bureau. We have all new people in there. We've promoted some people. We always had kind of that older group that was here long before I was. In the next 3 months, we'll promote 3 sergeants on the road. I've been here 10 years, and I've promoted 1. Because we have a lot of the men and women that they've been here forever. And that was just at the end before, with retirement and things like that, they're finally retiring. So we have a whole new changeover that's coming up. We just found today that I have 2 in the jail that are retiring. And we have those lists already that we started. One of them, Lauren, one of our rock star ladies, is a deputy, been a deputy for us for 6 years. She just got promoted this week. Chris Keller is getting promoted July 2nd. And then Hunter Salisbury is getting promoted somewhere in the next couple months after that. So a lot of change, a lot of exciting stuff. The millage made these things possible. One of the other biggest things that I think is huge, and I don't think a lot of people remember that from the millage, but one of the things that was important, I mentioned about coaching, the kids in my life. That's the only reason I took this, is because I was retired. I wanted to coach more. I wanted to be involved in the schools. That's what my passion is. So this was a way for me to try to affect and do things with the kids as much as possible to help them. One of the big pieces of the millage was the percentage that goes to each of our school districts. And talking with the superintendents, obviously the supervisors, the principals.
None went to our school.
What's that?
None went to our school.
Well, that's not my decision. That's Mondrian's decision. So you can yell at him. But if you look at that, that's almost $900,000 a year is what we give to the schools, to all the districts. They decide, like what's being said there, they decide, each district decides where they want those people, those SROs, those uniform cops, whatever safety equipment they're going to use for it. So just now in this 3 years with it, and the time that we've had, we've given, you've given, and the public's given, $3 million to our schools to keep them safe. And with the way the school budgets are right now, that's a huge piece for them. It is. So I'm really proud of that, and I'm excited for that, because that's what I care about is our schools and our districts. We now have our SROs that all work very closely together. It doesn't matter the district, they train together, things like that, so they're all on the same page. Because gosh forbid, as I knock on wood with it, is if we had to go to Dryden School tomorrow, every SRO is going, and obviously all our departments also. But that's a huge asset. That's super important for a community like ours, that we have different areas. What's a school district that scares me? Northridge. They're so far up there. They're all in the middle of nowhere. So we have an SRO that's in there full time. We have other SROs that will go up, and we have our deputies that are in there. So just pieces a lot of people don't know with it. One of the other things, and I know I talk too much, so I apologize. So I'll try to make this shorter. One of the other big pieces that we have with it is the courthouse. One of the biggest things that I heard when I first came in is because we had no deputies at the courthouse. And I'm floored by that. If you've heard me speak before, I went in, when I got elected, before I actually took office, because I got elected in the primary, Sheriff Calico asked me to come down like in September to the courthouse, so he wanted to meet with me on something with the commission. So I come in from Tennessee County, living here my whole life. I walked up the stairs and I got to the medical sector, and I'm standing at the front doors there. There's nobody. I stood there for 10 minutes because I'm like, and finally a deputy was walking through because they would move them back and forth, transport. I said, did they go to the bathroom or something? He's like, no, we don't have anybody at the door. I'm floored by that. I was absolutely floored by that. Not only for the public, but even for our personnel, our men and women that work there every day. You got a lot of hostile things that happen in those courtrooms. And gosh forbid, you got commissioners that people get upset with, you got judges that people get upset with. How we're not protecting our own people and the public, I couldn't even grasp that. So that was one of the big pieces we did with the millage. At all times, we have 5 armed cops in the 5 armed deputies that are in the courthouse at all times. And our problems are dealt with immediately. You get a lot of people that are upset in there. You get a lot of people in there with warrants, things like that. We have metal detectors running, so we did an audit, and I probably said this back then, we did an audit prior to that. And on one day, this was before the metal detectors, when I was trying to get this to get passed, on one day, we had like 9 guns and 12 knives that entered the courthouse. I couldn't believe, now in fairness, some of the guns, which I'm a huge advocate of, I want good people having guns. I want you to have CPL. A lot of them were just people that knew we're not at the door, so they just come in. Well, that doesn't make me feel better either. So fortunately we fixed that, and it's made a huge difference with it. I know some of the things got brought up, the canine stuff, obviously the deputies where we have, one of the things that everyone talked about at first with the SRO, the school resource officer, the sheriff's gonna come in, he wants to put all his own people in the schools. No, I just want the kids protected. So we give the money, for example, with that, we give $110,000 to everyone that has a school. And then they decide where it's at, or where it's gonna be moved. So I send that to Dryden Township, put your own people there. This isn't, I'm not trying to take over anything. I just want our people, I want our kids safe. So that's one of the big things with that. We look at, we do have now, we have a gun dog that's actually in Zemmer, but it will go to all schools. That's actually part of a donation from a past Lapeer High School grad. So he walks the halls, the dog does every day. If Inley City has an issue, the dog goes there. We've agreed that with the schools and with the superintendent of Lapeer that, hey, this is too big a tool not to use in all of our school districts. So that's huge. It's huge for the kids. Just having a dog in the school, it's very friendly. They play with it. They love it. That's a huge just mental health piece for some of our kids too that are big. We talk about the canine stuff. We've increased the equipment. One of the big things that is not something you're going to visually see, but is the equipment, our safety equipment, our cars, the equipment that we use. We were buying, I mean zero disrespect to anybody in the past, we were buying the cheapest bulletproof vests for years because of price. I can't even grasp that. I can't even wrap my head around that. Our equipment, our overheads, some of the things that we have in the cruisers was all just the lowest quote for safety equipment. All of those things that I just said are not only safety equipment for our men and women, but it's for you. It's for you when they're coming up behind you and you're with your family coming in from dinner that you hear the sounds, you see the lights, you have the equipment that's in there. Some of the safety equipment that we've purchased on the car, nonstop, body cams. Every single one of our road deputies and our court deputies, everyone has a body cam on. And the problem is that's the day and age that we live, right? We want to all see something hands-on. The problem is people all panic about that. And a lot of times you'll hear it, people say, well, you're as law enforcement, you probably hate body cameras. No. 99% of the time they save our butts because someone lied or something they said that was happening was completely untrue. So it's a huge asset for us. We have also in-car cameras. The problem is, and as the commissioner knows, this stuff's not cheap. And it just continues to go. And of course, when you buy it, it's obsolete within 60 days or 6 months, whatever it may be. But it's keeping up for the safety piece. And like I said, that's a big piece, not only for us, but then when we go to courts and some of the cases that we have, all those interviews you're seeing what we see for a jury that sits in a courtroom and says, oh yeah, I see that. I see how he or she acted or whatever it may be. So huge piece of it, the jail. We put about $500,000 to $600,000 into the jail. There's all new cameras in the jail. And people go, okay, well that's expected. We had multiple blind spots that weren't even on camera. And that's not okay. We changed all the gates, our whole thing that runs the jail, the boards for it, all that has been changed out. Now in fairness, some of these things, ARPA money was used for some of that to entail, and then we take over the rest of it or any of the costs, the additional ones from there. A drone program. We just started a drone program that is huge because people think, okay, it's technology. To see that when we have such a huge group of elderly people, we get the dementia stuff all the time that are walking away. And I'm saying multiple times a week. We get kids that are missing. We get whatever it may be, crime scenes that we can put these up. They're amazing. One of the biggest things that I really pushed and wanted to push was working with other departments. So like Metamora's got a fantastic drone program. We work with them nonstop. Some of their people have come up and helped train our people. And then we send them to schools, but we work together with it. So if we get something, thank gosh, the board's fantastic up there, and obviously the chief, there's multiple times that we'll have something up in Mayfield that we're going up to, and hey, we can use another drone if you got somebody on the road, and they come up and help us. Same thing with us. It's just passing resources back and forth, which is huge. You see the way the Elmont thing went, unfortunate, horrible incident. But look at how many departments were there. And ultimately, it was all horrible for the family, what it was, but the reaction to that was right now. And that's the kind of community I want to make sure that we live in, that it's all hands on deck when we get some of those things. Unfortunately, you have those things happen everywhere, because that's a unique situation. That wasn't just some random act. So I could go through a million different pieces of that. I've probably talked too long with that. I do want to touch on just two quick things. Some of the specialty units that we have. And we have obviously multiple. SWAT, Marine, dive teams, all the other stuff. Two of the ones that we started when I came in. And one was from the sheriff, when I was at the new sheriff school in Michigan State, sat with Lapeer County Sheriff, and he got talking about the victim service unit. And the reason I bring this up everywhere I speak at, is because if you know people, they're a special breed of people that truly care about people. I talked to Lapeer County Sheriff, he explained it, he started it, had been a sheriff for years, explained to me kind of how it did. Michigan Sheriff Association helped with it. I started up a couple years after we worked on it and finally got it up and rolling about 2 years, year and a half into starting. But every death that we have, and it could be a fatal accident, it could be a suicide, it can be natural death, it can be anything that we have out there. These women will respond, men and women will respond to it. And you go, okay, well, what is that? Well, you know how many people in this county don't have anybody? It's actually sickening. It's actually so sad to think about that. But so when they do this, and at first there was kind of some questions about it, because it's a sheriff's department thing. They work obviously for us. They're volunteers, and they bust their butt for our community. They respond at all times of the night. I mean, there's some days that they get called out 3-4 times in a day. Because we're an elderly community, so we have deaths quite often with it. I looked at it, so we started it up full time. First full year that we did, we started it at the end of 18. First full year that we had was 2019 that we had. And we had 17, in 1 year, we had 17 call-outs for BSU. This past year in 25, we had 168. Why is that? It's because people were unsure of it at first. Cops are weird. Is ultimately a lot of times to bring somebody into your scene or family. Well, it's a huge asset to the law enforcement people because now they can do their job and BSU can console a family and line up things. And they'll find one for 48, 72 hours, whatever. They'll make arrangements with the funeral home. And these people are godsends. We currently have 19, I think, that are on it. The problem is a lot of them have other jobs and it's very hard for their schedule because of the on-call every so often. And they do amazing things. The reason I say that, if you know of somebody that would be interested in it, it's basically just a good heart that is willing to sit down and talk with people. They're a huge asset to the community. When we first moved in, or when we first started it, it was just the Sheriff's Department using it because everyone was skeptical about it. Now, every agency in the entire county uses it. The state police uses it. You know, for some that are around and know how the state police work, that's not normal. That's just respect to what these men and women do, so it's super cool. The other one that we started up was search and rescue. And I won't go a ton into that. Sarah, who's our emergency manager also, is an absolute rock star. The men and women they have, at any time we can have, and we use them quite often, at any time we can have 30, 40 people along with multiple dogs, our drone units, all on scene for an elderly person or kid that walked away. So I've thrown a lot at you. I know you're going to go on with your meeting. I don't know if you have any quick questions. I do have to roll directly up it. Now here it's pouring out. That's fantastic. Great timing. Especially to put myself here. Any quick questions? Yes, sir.
How are the crime statistics? You said we're an elderly community.
Yeah. Low, way lower than we've been. And
is it going down?
yes, it actually has been going down for multiple years. I'm not the best politician in the world. I'm not even trying to say that that's because of anything I've done. That's if you look at across the state or look at it across the country, crime statistics are going not inner cities, not major city crime, that's going up. But in our community, it's way down. And I think it's obviously a great job. I do think that because of the millage and some of the things we have, even our detective bureau, we have more detectives that are, when I worked in Flint, you didn't even, if you had a car broken into, your house broken into, it really didn't even get assigned to a detective because you were dealing with shooting. I worked homicide for 6 years. Over here, we're working those cases and we're solving them. You know, you saw Troy was on the front page of the paper the other day with the lady with the, $42,000. That case wouldn't even get worked in Genesee County. Over here, it's what every resource we have at it. But it's a great question, but to be honest with you, our crime is way down. You're always gonna have, the problem is people have the Elmonts, the Drydens, these major things that we've had, even in Lapeer City here not too long ago. You're gonna have that everywhere. And they're isolated incidents. It's not like somebody randomly was picked to be harmed. Those were people.
What kind of crime do you see most often?
Domestics is your number one, which is obviously in our day and age, everyone knows that everybody's ticked off right now. Doesn't matter what it is, it amazes me. Our world is just so upset. But, as you see, summer, obviously when you go into summer, your domestic skyrocket. Doesn't help with prices, gas prices, things like that. It's more stress financially for people, and they get in those positions. Well, that's kind of the biggest, that's the main one that you're gonna have everywhere. And you're really not gonna drop those statistics so heavily because you're not in the house when it happens. We're getting called, we're responding to an issue. It's kind of hard to be proactive on domestic violence. We can try to talk with people and have them understand that they have the resource, but let's be truthful too. We get your departments, our departments across the county arrest people all the time for domestics. The next day when they're getting the rain, now you got the victim that's in love again. And I don't want to follow through with these charges. That's a pretty common thing. So it makes it very hard for the prosecutor's office, for the magistrates. But those are the big things. I am really, really comfortable when I say that, obviously my kids grew up here. I really like where we're at. We're gonna have those unique situations, but I think a big part of that is exposure. Because you're gonna be hard pressed not to see. I understand you get up in some of the corners, you're not gonna see a patrol car all the time, but with the extra cars that we have on there, I think that's big for people to see, especially. And let's be truthful, you get some times it's awfully quiet out here, and gosh forbid you get a major domestic in Hadley right now, there's a good chance you're gonna have 6 of our rollers that pull on. I like that. The other part about it is we get so many transient crimes, the Genesee County coming in, Oakland County coming up, St. Clair coming west, that will come over here because, let's be truthful, we have nice stuff, we have good trusting people, and we have a lot of people that don't lock any of their doors, me included. So we have people that will come over and do this. So the other big part of it is that I love about here that in Genesee County didn't have. If you're going to come over here and you're going to commit a crime in our county, you're going to jail. In Genesee County, I could have multiple felonies and not get them in jail. Over here, you are going to jail. Genesee County, some of the departments over there, on ones that are really big that they can't, the Genesee won't help them, we'll lodge them here. I got Flushing Police Department called the other day because they had something, I'm like, put them in our jail. I want the reputation of our county to be to know if you're gonna go out and screw around in Lapeer County, you're going to jail. Because most counties aren't that way. So, great question. Anything else? All right.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your time, everybody. I appreciate it.
All right, move down to reports. Everybody from Phil Green, Kevin Daly, Teresa, you're up.
All right, everybody always likes to hear about elections, not local clerks. Anyway, we're heading into the August primary. Our ballots are at the printer. That means the local clerks will be getting them real soon, and so the ADs will be distributed. We have early voting that's going to be happening in August and November. So we're all really interested to see what kind of community involvement is with early voting. 2 years ago, we started with the presidential primary. Was hardly anybody came for early voting, but we had to be ready to go. And the clerks did great because there was no structure, no help from Lansing on it. We just rolled in that February. In August, we had, I think it was 1,500 people countywide that used early voting. And by November, 18,000 voters utilized early voting. So I'm really interested. We're interested to see who's coming out in August, yeah. So anyway, that's always something that touches all of us. Of course, our office does many other things. We all know that. We do CPL races marriage license if you need one, birth records, death records, we filed the 214, did I say that right? Yeah, and we do all of the commissioner minutes, which after last week is a challenge to get those scribed right, because we had a lot of discussion about the tax rate, but we came settled on that, they did, and so we're gonna get those minutes out. And then on the second floor, we have our circuit court filings, which we handle all of the biggest crimes, as Sheriff was talking about, the felonies, and we also do all the divorce and name change, and also DS, which is trying to get child support for new babies that are born, make sure they're getting supported. So we have a variety of things we do in our office. Any questions? I have some of our almost out of print directories if anybody needs any, because just as soon as we finish the November election, we're going to go back into production because there's a lot of new names in it.
Something that never gets mentioned in all the things we do. Early on in my tenure as a supervisor, and a lot of us have cemeteries in our jurisdictions. And I had the unpleasant situation where we were having a burial and it was occupied. What do I do? You know, this is a cemetery from the 1800s. I went to the clerk's office. Fascinating. They pull out these big old books, and I was able to determine who was there, what they died of, what they called it back in the 1800s, and handle that. And as much as what I was involved with the clerk's office, I was kind of amazed with that it was not one of those, see me in a day. Your staff literally walked over, opened it up, boom, 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 and it was, here's this 5-year-old girl, and this is, and just that easy. I was amazed.
Managed by the local clerks that have the cemeteries also in all of their jurisdictions. So yeah, there's lots of history in the county.
Very good. Clayton?
Teresa, do you think with a new governor possibly coming in, that this 9-day voting and some of this stuff is going to be eliminated or changed or reduced or?
The only way there would be change in that is if there was another constitutional amendment. So somebody would have to go get many signatures to place it on the ballot, and then it would be an opportunity for all of us to vote on it again. So I think it's pretty unlikely that would happen. And the other thing, personal opinion, is I think that voters like multiple ways to vote. We've always had 80 ballots, but it wasn't until 2018 that the rule was changed and you could do no reason AB. That opened that up. But I think that the theory is now we continue to give the voter options so that everybody has a chance to vote. And I think the 9 days of early voting is one of those things that's expensive. All the clerks have to be rolling, they have to have these staff. It's a lot. But I really don't see it changing.
You mentioned that not that many people really use it.
Early on, that's why I mentioned
People get used to it.
We didn't know what it meant.
Correct.
And we found that most of our voters in February and August were there to pay their taxes and went, what are they doing in there? Because there was so much going on, and so they tried it, and then I think the word spread.
I think you're right, yeah.
Now also, another subject, the Michigan Constitution, do you think that's gonna pass?
I have no idea.
Any indication of?
I think that we don't know what all this is. We've seen it before, so it'll be interesting to see that happen too. I wish I had, I don't.
And will that be an August ballot or November?
That's going to be, that's a good question. I pre-read ballots, so my eyes are cried. It's not an August.
Be on the August ballot?
No.
Okay, or November?
I don't know. I think it's up to Nancy.
Oh.
Haven't seen the November ballot.
We didn't see what that. Good questions. You have great questions.
Anything else? Thank you. County Commissioners, Mr. Wise, do you have any?
I've got just a couple of really quick We're gonna hold our July 9th committee of the whole meeting in the historic courthouse to help celebrate America 250. We're gonna rededicate the historic courthouse to the people of the county of Lapeer, as the board did in 1976 in the bicentennial. As Teresa mentioned, we did have truth and taxation public hearing last week, and of course, what a lot of people understand is even the highest rate that we can set is a lower rate than it was the year before. And, but we did agree to cut the general county rate that could have been as high as 3.5486 to 3.4871 mils, which is a 0.0615 mils reduction. We did not reduce any of the extra voted ones. We figured whether it be seniors or veterans or EMS or the law millage, that people who voted for those want that money to go to them, and so we didn't do anything with them. The last thing I want to mention is when Sheriff Scott was talking about court security. Of course, my 24 years as magistrate, we never had any security at the front door.
Hey.
And I can tell you, under Sheriff, prior to Sheriff Scott, told me the key was you've got to be faster than the clerk in your courtroom. And I was younger then, a little faster, but I still told the clerks, I'm taking you all out of the parking lot to run the wind sprints. And slow woman gets to go to the courtroom. So that's all I got. Thank you.
All right. I don't know, I think that Clark and Marv and Kirby and myself had a good time down there. Land bank, Tina had to step out. She said that there was nothing to report, no activities from that. CCA, Scott Jarvis, also had to leave. The only thing that I would say is the CCA annual meeting will be next week on the 25th. The regular CCA meeting will be held at 6:30 and the annual meeting is at 7 o'clock. So if your municipality is a member of CCA, this is a meeting you can attend. And we do have 2 board member positions that are up for election or re-election or appointment or otherwise. So if you're interested in that, it's at the CCA building on Suncrest, 6:30 and 7 o'clock.
Did you say the 25th?
25th, correct. T&U, that's also me. May 15th. May 15th, we had our meeting. We're redoing the interlocal agreement. That started at our previous meeting. There's some specific language and paragraphs in there, but nothing has come back from Lansing and the attorneys for us to vote on. We elected a new chair of T&U. Our chair for T&U for at least the next year is John Biller, prosecutor here for Lapeer County. Participation. Those of you who've been around for a little bit, a couple of years ago, you got a bill in the mail from T&U, and my phone rang off the hook, and I said disregard it. Turned a whole lot of people off, and our participation dropped down. I will say that now, last year when it went back to normal, it increased tenfold. We actually exceeded as the highest amount of participants, local municipalities since I've been on the board, so that's a good thing. From a financial standpoint, T&U is sound. We are fully staffed with the exception of, and I don't know as of today, but as of our meeting, we did not have a federal agent on the board. Feds are a little different, but they're in and out, so everything else, but we did not have that. Hopefully by actually this meeting here, we actually have somebody now. The last thing is T&U has to have a fiduciary, and Lapeer County has acted as the fiduciary for T&U for the last few years. Lapeer County is wanting to bow out from that. They no longer want to serve in that capacity. It's not that they're putting money in or whatever, but they're the holder of the funds, etc. So we are searching for a new fiduciary, and it doesn't have to be a county. It can actually be one of the participating townships or so forth. So we're working on that. Remember I said earlier, voluntold, who steps back? I was not at the January meeting, so when I read the minutes, Hadley Township was voluntold, as to you, and hold on here. So that's still up for discussions. The annual meeting has been done. I don't have a copy of it published, but when I do, I'll of course disperse it to all of our members. Questions? That's because, well, see, I got dropped off. We had meetings and all of a sudden I didn't have a meeting. So I contacted our commander and I said, what's up? And he says, oh, Mike, I'm no longer with the T&D board. Lansing reassigns. We have a new commander. Great, here's his name. So I reached out to him and he was like, who? And I said, I'm on your executive board. I am. I'm so sorry. He said, they also, not only a new commander, but we have a new secretary, a new person who does that sort of thing. You can appreciate we're dealing with us with the MTA and the mail out list. I was dropped from the list. So the meeting I said I wasn't at in January, I didn't get that notification, but that was in that time period. So Brian Smart is our new commander. So it's like I talked to Mike Boston, seems on this and everything else. I think he would do a good job for our fiduciary. So that's kind of how that went about. So I'm back in the saddle. I know what the meetings are. I'm on the mailing list. So
Now, like our township gave $500 was T&U.
yes. Yep, that'll actually be in the annual report as a list of all the contributors and.
Do you at least get an accolade for that?
It'll be in the annual report. Yeah. Yeah. Your name with the township will be in there.
Right.
Yeah. Any other questions? Train commissioner, we don't have anything from Andy. EMS, I don't know who this Tina or whatever is.
Oh my gosh, I did so. Sorry.
And she said that would be me as well, but since you're a board member, I'll pass it off to you. Yeah, there you go. She's sitting next to me, so she might need to listen.
That's Tina, right?
Yeah,
I thought Russ was gonna be here, was it?
he was at the supervisor's.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and, he reported on some,
Yeah, he was.
well, I didn't want to say that because the letters haven't went out, but
Yeah.
he gave very good skill to the supervisors. It was very informative.
He's very good.
And I guess I will, because I gave him kudos in that meeting, and I will just do it in this one as well. We have a lot of AEDs throughout the county with police, fire, township halls, and so forth. Hadley Township has 6 as well. We were to the point with our AEDs where the battery cost more than a new AED. They have since changed Lapeer County MS, and there's a lot of benefit, continuity, the same ones, the pads interchangeable and everything else. He put a group purchase together, and it took, we bought our $3,000 AED was $1,500 a piece. So, and that was through the efforts, coordination through Lapeer County MS. So I gave him kudos at the last meeting, and I'll do it now.
Yeah, he is, he's by far the best director we've ever had.
MTA update, we don't have anybody from MTA. Brings us down to the next public comment. Anybody?
Yes, we have strawberry shortcake on the counter over there.
And it is really good.
They tell me some added some.
Yeah. And they're fresh strawberries from?
Algae market.
I would like to maybe say, is this date working out for all of the townships? Is that the reason why? I mean, I was at the township and, the tea party's there, they're having a big to-do there. I don't know, is that something we wanna look at? Is this working out for all of the townships?
I don't know, we can discuss that with this subgroup, and then kind of off the thing here, but I wanna come to Mayfield and you and Jamie, and we'll go down to the email list and maybe look at that. I don't think anybody's township meetings have changed, but I know our Clerks Association and I have conflict, our clerk goes to that, so I have a conflict with my Jersey County board. There may be something that, that is.
I was just gonna say, I could put out a, maybe send a fax to everybody and say, does this date work for you? For the township people.
I would go along with that and write along with there, send email addresses and that for all your township officials so that we can include, say, the work that we have to do, if we can get some people to participate. Anything else? Anybody else have any announcements? Anything going on? Any parties you want to invite me to?
We had a big bonfire.
Wait. Yeah, no, that one. I can tell you, I was a firefighter for 16 years, state instructor, 27 departments. I mean, I can't even fathom the incident command that was involved in that.
Yeah.
That was
I heard from our fire chief that Brian did an excellent
He
job.
did an excellent job, yes, he did.
Kudos to your department.
Yeah, we only have the best.
Anything else? All right, reminder, our next meeting will be Tuesday, August 18th, 2026 in Hadley Township. So having gone through the agenda, I declare the meeting adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, very good.
Yeah, I need to.